This episode is brought to you by Factor. Optimize your nutrition this year with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved, ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Eat smarter at factormeals.com/listen50 and use code listen50 for 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Factormeals.com/listen50, code listen50. T's and C's apply.
The Red Apple Media Podcast Network presents This is Protecting America. Now, here's Emmy-winning journalist Rita Cosby.
And welcome to another edition of Protecting America. I'm Rita Cosby. President Biden says he'll finally go to our southern border to visit for the first time. He is going to El Paso on Sunday and claims that he wants to see what's happening there. So is this sincere or is it just one big photo op? Well, joining us now to discuss this is someone who knows the border and the crisis there well, Tom Homan. He was acting director of ICE, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement under then President Trump in 2017 and 2018, and has been in law enforcement basically his entire career, dedicated to protecting this country. Tom, really great to have you here on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You know, Tom, what is your reaction to President Biden saying he's finally going to go to the border? Finally.
It's a little too late. I mean, it's like you said, I think he's checking a box. I think it's a photo op because he knows that even Democrat mayors, Democrat governors now speaking up about these people they're overwhelmed with the illegal aliens get to their jurisdictions. So I think he's checking a box. I really do. There's no meaningful changes in border policy. He announced some today, which are terrible. Not one word from him about how he's going to secure the border. Not one word about how he's going to stop the flow of fentanyl. Not one word about the thousands of migrants who have died on U.S. soil. So today was just a dog and pony show. Nothing's going to come out of it. Border numbers can continue to skyrocket. We're on a glide path right now based on the current numbers to beat last year's historic numbers. So I watched the speech today. Nothing concrete out of it. Matter of fact, the only thing he managed to do is confuse me because he's confusing legal terminologies. He says he's going to parole up to $30,000 a month, which he can't do. That's illegal. Parole by case analysis because of significant public benefit. And the law is clear on that. As a matter of fact, a group I work with, Immigration Reform Law Institute, we have a hearing next week in Florida. We're exploring Florida's lawsuit on misuse of paroles. And if we win that, his whole plan is going to be shot out of the sky. He won't be able to do it. So I'm hoping we get some good news next week for the courts to stop him.
Well, bravo to you, by the way, Tom, because that's important. That is a biggie. Tell us about that suit.
Well, the parole policy was written. Let's put it this way. I was in ICE leadership for almost 20 years before I became a director. And I can tell you, in that 20 years, I probably issued 6 paroles in 20 years. And most of those paroles were for somebody we paroled into the country to be a witness in a cartel hearing because it was a significant public benefit, law enforcement. But 6 in 20 years compared to his $30,000 a month. So again, the parole statute is clear. It's got to be a case-by-case analysis based on a significant public benefit. Now, he said today, $30,000 a month. Now, we're going to use that speech as Exhibit A to the judge and say, all right, so you hear from his own words. You can talk about case-to-case analysis. It's $30,000 a month. Now, how do you make that determination without doing case-by-case analysis? So it's clear, once again, as he has done for 2 years, not only ignoring the law, but actually violating it. I hope we win this, and if we win this, it'll stop this terrible plan from happening. Let me be clear. The only reason he's paroling these people is because he knows they don't qualify for asylum. Syracuse University, TRAC, just released a study last week, and believe me, they are not fans of border enforcement. They're a pain in my butt when I was ICE director with all the FOIAs they do on our data. They just did a study looking at all these family groups coming across and traced them through the whole court process. And they backed me up on what I've been saying for years. 93% of these family units that show up in court lost their case. They don't qualify for asylum. Now, this administration knows that. It doesn't surprise me last week the study came out to verify what I've been saying. Then all of a sudden, okay, we want to stop talking about, asylum, let's go to parole. They're just sidestepping the asylum process. It's clear what they're doing, and we're going to call them out in court, and we will win.
Do you think, Tom, that he's just misspeaking? Because I thought it was odd, too, when he used the word parole. I thought maybe he meant the word amnesty, or do you think he really does mean parole? Because, boy, that is a frightening premise based on what you're talking about.
No, he meant parole because the White House sent a statement out. I got a piece of it sent to me. The White House sent a statement out backing up the parole policy. And, he did the same thing on the southern border in Yuma. He did the same thing down in Rio Grande Valley, paroling thousands of people in. That's why Florida, Indiana, and Texas all filed lawsuits. And the group I'm working with, I'm their expert witness on immigration enforcement and border security. And we got all these lawsuits pending. And again, if the judge rules on, the wording of the statute, this is an easy case to decide. And again, it's just, with 100,000 Americans dead from drug overdoses, 1,700 migrants dead, crossing that border, no suspected terrorists crossing the border, 117 arrested already. At what point does this president stop the gangs, stop blaming Republicans like he did in today's speech? The Republicans didn't turn down any border security package. The Republicans said no to amnesty because you keep talking about amnesty, it's just going to drive more people to the border. It's shown in the last 3 decades, every time there's a serious talk about amnesty, it drives the border numbers up. The border numbers are already historic. Border Patrol is already overwhelmed. That 80% are taken off the mind to process. The last thing we need is any talk about amnesty right now. I'd like to hear him say one thing about border security, which he hasn't done.
What do you think he'll hear when he goes down to the border? If he speaks to agents, if he speaks to other folks there?
I don't think he'll speak to the agents. I hope to God he does. To the agents will tell them the same thing they told Mayorkas. This is your fault. Look, and him standing out there in the news and saying this is a Trump administration, it's Republicans. Look, all that can be just proven in one easy way. In 2020, when President Trump was in charge, we had the lowest illegal immigration in 40 years. Illegal immigration down to 83%. First year of Joe Biden's administration, we had historic illegal immigration. Now, get this. We went from the most secure border, the lowest numbers, to the highest numbers in a year that we've ever seen under Joe Biden's leadership. Case closed. He can keep pointing his fingers at Republicans and Trump all he wants. The data under Trump was the lowest. Data under him is the highest. You can try to spin that as much as you can. This is his fault. He won't accept it. I think he knows it, but I think the progressive left owns him, and I think he's not going to change his mind. Again, he's secretary too. In 2 years, you can't name anything they have done to slow the flow. The only thing they've done is send more resources down to the border to process and release quickly, because all they care about is the optics of the crisis. They don't care about the crisis itself.
So do you think he'll even give himself access to the border agents? Do you think he'll even talk to some of the people who share these just horror stories of what's happening at the border? Or do you think he'll be insulated during this visit?
I think they're going to protect him. I think if he does approach a Border Patrol agent, the Border Patrol agent actually says what I think he'll say to them. Media won't cover it. They'll continue to protect him. I don't think he's put himself out there to take that risk. And just the opposite, President Trump, I was down at the border President numerous times. He'd walk right by a chief patrol agent to talk to a GS-9 Border Patrol agent standing on the line because he wanted to hear from the front line, what's going on, what do you need? So President Trump is far different. He talked to Border Patrol agents all the time. President Biden, he's going down there. If he talks to Border, I hope he does. Believe me, I hope he does because you'll hear the truth. I don't think they'll put him in that position because I think a Border Patrol agent will tell him the same thing they told Mayorkas. Trump policies worked. You destroyed them. And you created this mess. Mayorkas has been told by numerous Border Patrol agents that. And I don't think they'll hold back to the president because they've lost total respect in the president. To the president, they know he created this mess. They know he has nothing about it. And, the last time I heard from the president, he was attacking the men and women of the Horse Patrol who did nothing wrong. So they got no respect for this man. So, again, I hope he does. But I have my serious doubts that his handlers will let him do that.
Why do you think he also waited so long? Why the timing of this, Tom Homan? I mean, it's so suspicious. He's been, president for 2 years. He's been in public office for many decades. And this is his first visit. It's stunning.
I think because the Dems are starting to turn on him, right? You got Gavin Newsom, who's furthest left person in the country, saying that he's at his wit's end on all the people coming to California. You got Denver sending now aliens to New York City. You got New York City. You got that mayor speaking up. You got, Washington, D.C. mayor speaking up. You got governor speaking up. I think some of the Democrats are understanding that this isn't funny anymore. This isn't just a border crisis. These people are coming to my town, taking over my social system, and we can't handle it. So I think he's taking some heat from his own side. And I'll tell you what, I think he's doing the right thing going down there. I just wish it was be a constructive visit rather than just a dog and pony show, which is going to be.
What do you think of these Democratic mayors, Tom Homan, that are complaining? It's interesting because you see like New York City Mayor Eric Adams, he's complaining, saying, hey, there's no more room at the inn. We've taken in 30,000 migrants. We don't have any more space. And he's asking for federal dollars, but he's not criticizing President Biden. He's not criticizing the president's border policies.
I don't feel sorry for any of them because they're all sanctuary cities. You asked for this. They said we're a welcoming community. They refuse to work with ICE. You can commit a crime in New York. You can be illegal and get convicted of a serious public safety crime in New York. They will not let ICE in their jail. They'll rather release that person out in the public to reoffend. So you got places like Chicago, New York, L.A. Crime is running rampant. Highest crime rates they've seen in the history of the city. Are they doing everything they can to address the crime crisis? No, because the percentage of those crimes are committed by illegal aliens, and every one that released back in the public to reoffend. So they want to be a sanctuary city, a welcome community. Well, guess what? We'll send you some people you can welcome. So end your sanctuary city policies and work with ICE so we can help. And the second thing, call the White House, tell them to do their damn job. That's what you need to do. But, again, politics get in the way.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Speaking of politics, the president said the reason he waited till now, which was, I laughed, Tom Homan, when I heard this. He said, I wanted to see what was going to happen with Title 42, that health provision. He said, look, I'm obviously against it, but I wanted to see where it was going. I mean, what a crazy excuse.
Well, he doesn't know what's going on. I doubt he knows what Title 42 is. I watched a speech today. He obviously doesn't understand this issue because he was mixing up legal terms, legal terminology. And the Title 42 is, it's important, but it's not the end all be all because he's never enforced Title 42 the way Trump administration did. Title 42 is about keeping people out of the country during the pandemic. President Trump sent everybody out of the country. What he's done, kept everybody out of the country. What he's done from day one is carved out entire populations that he don't want to be a part of Title 42. Bottom line is the data is clear on that. He's released more people into the United States than he returned on Title 42. That's the stone cold truth. So he's misused Title 42 from the beginning. If you ask him, explain Title 42 to me, he wouldn't be able to do it.
One of the things he brought up was this plan that you talked about, this, quote, parole plan, which was, I agree with you, really concerning. But he talked about these sort of 4 countries, allowing them to seek asylum and go to an app. That was his solution, was go to an app for countries like Venezuela, I think it was Cuba, Nicaragua, Haiti. What did you think of that comment from him?
It was moronic. Look, bottom line is asylum and parole are 2 different things. He's talking about paroling these people, and then he talks about asylum. He's getting his 2 terminologies mixed up. They're 2 entirely different things. The only reason he's paroling these people is because, they don't qualify for asylum. Bottom line. That's what he's doing. Like I said, track came out 93% filled their asylum cases. What do they do now? Okay, well, let's parole them in because we can't stop that. They don't have to see a judge when they get here to enter the country. They'll see a judge at some time, but at least they're in the country. It's a bait and switch. They're going to get these people in here no matter what. Unless we need to feed them in courts, which I hope we do. But the whole press conference was most upsetting to me was comparing what's going on in the southwest border to Jews escaping the Holocaust. That was persecution. They were getting killed. This here, the data is clear. It's nothing but asylum fraud. I'm sick and tired of people saying asylum seekers. Yeah, technically they're seeking asylum, but guess what? 9 out of 10 are committing asylum fraud, which is a crime. So, to compare those two, one that was an atrocity that will scar this world forever, and one that is a myth that's created by the Biden administration just to open this border up.
Yeah, it was shocking to hear that analogy. And does it just show that he just is so out of touch with what's really going on? Although at one point he sort of said the quiet part out loud saying, well, people in this country need to know that people are vetted, criminal backgrounds. That was in the ad lib part. Sometimes he tends to do that. Well,
people aren't vetted. People are, we got 1.2 million enter this country without being arrested by the Border Patrol. They're on video, drone traffic, and camera traffic. They enter this country with no vetting. Why didn't that 1.2 million turn themselves into Border Patrol, claim asylum, to get released to the United States and get a free plane ticket to anywhere they wanted to go? Why wouldn't they take advantage of that? Because they don't want to be fingerprinted. There must be a reason why. So, again, they arrest people from 161 countries. Some of these countries are sponsors of terrorism. They've arrested 117 of them. How many of the 1.2 million came here as a terrorist? So he can talk about vetting all he wants. Let's talk about the vetting of the sponsors for UACs. They've released 250,000 children to this country since he's been president. They can't find 42% of them today. How'd that vetting go? So these kids were released to sponsors that they can't find. I guarantee you some of these children are in hands of predators. Some of these children are being forced into pornographic movies. Some of these children are being forced labor. God help us. Some of these children are in a really bad situation because this government, this administration failed to do the proper vetting. And the Trump administration, we vetted the sponsor, we vetted everybody in that household. This administration, because again, they want to release quickly so there's an overcrowding, they cut that vetting way back to release these kids to people they haven't really truly vetted thoroughly. Even several different studies have shown that in the last few months. God help us. You're talking about children who are trafficked in this country and we can't find. That's just scared the hell out of every parent in this country what's going on.
Absolutely. That is so frightening. The other thing I think about also is fentanyl. I mean, think about how much has come through. You know that firsthand. And this president, by all accounts, I think he said the word fentanyl maybe one time in the last year and didn't even say it in relation to the border. It's stunning, Tom Homan.
Yeah, he's ignoring the Drug Enforcement Administration. The Drug Enforcement Administration says 95% of the fentanyl on the streets came across the southwest border. It isn't a coincidence during the year of historic illegal immigration that posed 80% of border trade south of the line that fentanyl is coming across the country. They're bragging about how much they seize. Of course you're seizing. When you smuggle and you increase smuggling by 1,000%, you're going to catch more than you caught last year, but a hell of a lot more is getting away. You take 8 out of 10 border places off that line, you got drug dealers, drug smugglers just walking across that line not being encountered at all. Last week in El Paso, hundreds of people crossed that highway into the city of El Paso, never got encountered by any law enforcement because 100% of agents were inside processing groups because they were so overcrowded they had to get them out of there and release them. So this is fentanyl crisis is just a result of open borders, just like the national security issue, just like the record, a number of women and children being sex trafficked in this country. This is all the results of an open border.
You know, he is meeting the president with the head of Mexico, also Canada. It's at this Mexico City summit. What should he be saying to Mexico especially?
Well, I guarantee he won't be saying the right things. He ought to be saying put military on your southern northern border because it's in your law, Mexican law. It's a violation of your law to traffic in women and children. Why aren't you doing something about it? He could certainly tell them, shut down these cartels producing fentanyl and killing Americans. Shut down the cartels traveling to China to make deals with Chinese for the precursor to make this stuff. The President Trump would have done it by now. Tell you, if you can't handle the cartels, we'll come down and help you. But Biden won't do that either. You know, the criminal cartels right now, they're burning Culiacan. I mean, they arrested one of Chapo's sons. Why did all of a sudden they do that? A dog and pony show for President Biden, I'm sure. Right? Look at what we're doing about drugs. Now the cartels are burning down Culiacan. And they're not going in there. These drug cartels in Mexico are going to do some violent things next few days, mark my word. And all hell's breaking loose down there. Why? Because the criminal cartels in Mexico control Mexico. They control the northern border of Mexico. They control the United States southern border. We're the strongest nation in the world, and we don't control our own border. The criminal cartels in Mexico control our border. They decide what comes across, when it comes across, and how much comes across. It's all of their authority. I talked to chief patrol agents across the country. They'll tell you, we lost control of the southern border. One chief patrol agent used the terminology broken arrow. He said, Tom, I can't contain what's coming across. I'm maybe catching 10%. Again, the strongest nation in the world, and we lost operational control of our southern border.
That is just stunning. And it's so frightening, Tom. Real quick, before I let you go, the Republicans, once all this happens with the House Speaker and they get all that figured out, they have said they will do hearings at the border and that they hope to force Democrats and others to come down there. Do you think that might be effective? And they're also hoping to maybe try to even impeach Mayorkas, who continues to say the border isn't open.
Well, they better impeach Mayorkas, or I'll call them out too. Look, I just called out the 18 Republican senators that voted for the omnibus bill. Not $1 for border security. These guys go down there, do dog and pony shows on the southern border and say what a terrible thing's going on the southern border. Then they go back and vote for an omnibus bill that gives zero to border security. I mean, what the hell? So I think they lost the right to talk about the border anymore if they vote that bill. But I think oversight hearings would be great. I'll help them. So I already met with them. I said, I'll tell you where to go, what information to subpoena, who to subpoena, and you present evidence in front of the Democratic side of the House. 24 of them are up for a really tough election in 2024 in battleground states that Trump won. They're going to have to make a decision. Are they going to listen to the evidence and finally admit we got a problem in the southern border, or are they going to put their head in the sand? Because people are going to hold them accountable. So I think oversight hearings put evidence out there so American people can see. And I volunteer to be witness number one and show this evidence to American people. Now, will the networks cover it? We'll see. But have the oversight hearings, produce the evidence, and make these congressmen, Democrat side of the House, take a stand. And when re-elections come in 2024, let's see how it turns out.
Absolutely. Well, we will cover it. And I do hope that you're witness number one because you know the border situation so well. Everybody be sure to subscribe and share this podcast. And also, Tom Homan, thanks, first of all, for all your incredible service to our great country over the decades and all you do to keep us safe.
All right. Thank you.
And everybody, I'll be back soon with another great edition of Protecting America. And of course, you can catch me every weeknight, 10 p.m. to midnight on the legendary WABC Radio. This is Rita Cosby, and thanks for all you do to protect America.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked number 1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and number 2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.